Good evening and welcome to a new episode of our program, The Daily Debate. It's Wednesday evening. I'm Yasmin Bekir joining you. In this evening, we're going to be shedding and reflecting on the 1973 October's war. Of course, last Sunday, Egypt and the entire Arab world celebrated the 46th anniversary of the 1973 October War victory. And when we want to reflect back on this memorable day, not only do we salute and remember our beloved army and respected army and the role that they played in freeing the Egyptian lands and where we stand today with dignity and freedom and solidarity, but also we want to take this opportunity to discuss and dig more into the Egyptian society, the tight and intense relationship between the Egyptian citizens and their army, how the wars have changed to a whole different era today with new generations, and no longer is it the confrontation kind of war, the boots on the land kind of war. There's a lot of things that through remembering that victorious day we can today relate to, whether it's on the political level, on the social level, and even on the economic level. And of course, I'm very much delighted to have joining me here in the studio a very dear guest who always enlightens us with a lot of interesting stories, and his analysis, of course, is very thorough and very deep. Indeed, I'm talking about Engineer Hassan Shaban, political analyst. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I'm sure that there's a lot that we can tackle about this very important event. And as I said at the beginning, it's not just important for the Egyptians, but for the entire Arab region, because the Arab countries had a role in, yes, of course, cooperating with Egypt. Allow me, please, Engineer Hassan, to go out to this report, looking back at the October War through the eyes of history.
The October 1973 war, a radical turning point in the course of the Arab-Israeli conflict, has evoked interest by military leaders, strategists, research and study centers, and media around the world. This is due to the fact that this war had had far-reaching repercussions and impact on the Middle East region, not only on the military and strategic level, but also on the overall political and economic life of the world as a whole. Statements by contemporary witnesses to the war are the most truthful historical accounts, documenting facts and impartially and objectively assessing results of the war. Such testimonies are made by major strategists and military experts around the world. After the lapse of a quarter of a century, it might be beneficial to review these testimonies in order to learn lessons from the October 1973 war. Controversy has surrounded the question of responsibility over the failure to sound the alarm before the war, which ended on October 25th with a ceasefire agreement and more than 2,500 Israeli casualties. Haaretz coverage from the first days of the fighting reflects Israelis' dismay at the news. Israeli intelligence failed to see war coming in 1973 because it was wedded to a concept that the Arabs would not go to war because they would lose. Therefore, the danger of war was minimal. Reporting Golda Meir, Israeli Prime Minister during October War, she said that the Egyptians crossed the canal and hit hard the Israeli forces in Sinai. Moshe Dayan, Israeli defense minister back then, was probably the most surprised of all, and he almost immediately went into a deep depression from the shock of the disaster. By late on October the 7th, he was close to a mental breakdown. As a result of honorable fighting waged by both Egyptian and Syrian armies, the Arabs restored their own pride and self-confidence, which led to the reinforcement of Arab influence on the international arena in general. With the professional planning and performance whereby the crossing process was accomplished, no other army in the world could have done better. This precise work on the part of the General Staff, particularly the element of surprise already achieved, resulted in remarkable success and decisive victory on a wide front.